Even though Thatcher got reworked, surprisingly, the operator receiving the most amount of changes is Mute. Mute got 14 nerfs and 7 buffs, because the way his gadget interacts with every other gadget in the game has completely changed. So I went through and tested every single Mute interaction with every attacker. And overall, I gotta say, even though Mute's at 2 speed now, I think he's significantly worse. I don't think he's worth bringing anymore. You guys will see once you see all the nerfs he got. He's definitely better as an anti-intel because his mute jammer radius is now, I think, twice as large, so he can block doorways super easily and block drones, but everything else is basically useless. Overall changes. Mute is now a 2-speed. Everyone happy. Yay. Mute's jammer now has double the range and radius. Everyone also happy. Yay. The issue is that Mute's gadget no longer stops other gadgets that don't have like a detonator. So Ace, for example, even though the wall is muted, the Ace charge will still go off perfectly fine, and it can't be disrupted because the Mute Jammer no longer EMPs. As you can see, the Mute Jammer got destroyed. Ace right next to it. It still goes off perfectly fine. So I'd say it's a pretty substantial nerf. Now, that being said, Ace is banned in like, I think they said it was 90% of matches, so will that ever happen? Probably not. When it comes to like Hibana and Thermite, Mute still works exactly the same. Just to show, with Thermite, if I am outside of the range of a Mute Jammer, the Mute Jammers are there, I am not being jammed. But the Thermite charge is, it will not go off. It is jammed. Now, if I shoot the Mute Jammer, you will see the Thermite charge will glow. So now it is on. Signal can be sent. But if I walk in the range of a Mute Jammer, or actually I didn't know that would happen, but since the signal gets blocked, the light turns off, which means that I cannot send off the Thermite charge. So if the light is on, it works. If the light is off, it doesn't work. I did not know that they would do that when I'm within the range of a Mute Jammer. The way it worked before was, I believe, if Thermite was in the range of a Mute Jammer and he hit the button, it would still work. The signal would still send. The Thermite charge was the only one that mattered. Now it is either the sender or the receiver. If they're jammed, that doesn't work. And the same goes for Hibana. Okay, hard breaching gadgets. When you put down the secondary hard breach gadget, it still goes off, even though it's well within the Mute Jammer radius. Because again, remember, this basically jams all signals. So cameras have a signal, they go from the camera to the person, that gets jammed, but the hard breach charge, you just put it down and it goes off automatically. Because again, the essential thing to remember is that Mute Jammers no longer EMP. Basically what they did before was they just had a persistent EMP zone around them, so they would do like what the Thatcher EMP would do. Now it is just a signal jammer. Another big one that people are forgetting about is, so I'm going to put an air jab on the other side of the window. It's at the bottom. So a lot of people would carry on a Mute Jammer in their pocket and they would use it to, you know, disable claymores, disable air jabs, and then they would jump out on people. But that is no longer the case, because when you put down the Mute Jammer, which you guys know was right there, if I put down another air jab, you can see it does not get jammed. They no longer get jammed because it's not a signal. It is a gadget that is just on. It doesn't need a signal to go off. It is just persistently there. So even if you have a Mute Jammer in the radius, it will not affect it. So you can no longer use Mute as a jump out operator. So to prove the Claymore absolutely cannot possibly get jammed, because people will be like, it's too far from the window or whatever. Claymore's right on the other side of the door. Putting a Mute Jammer here. I'll even put a Mute Jammer like over here. Everything possible is going to get jammed. If you remove it, Claymore still works. Does not get EMP'd anymore, even though it's well within the radius of the jammer. So another thing that should still work, just to prove it does, is that, actually, this will be, I guess, slightly different. Before, when a Grim would launch his B canister, if it landed within the range of a Mute Jammer, it wouldn't deploy because it was getting EMP'd. So now it should deploy, but... Oh, actually, oh, never mind. That is changed. Standing inside of a Mute Jammer no longer makes you immune to Grim. Before, if you stood inside the Mute Jammer range, Grim couldn't see you because the Mute Jammer would be blocking the signal to go back to him. I don't know if that's a bug or not, but if a Grim shoots a canister at you and you're within a Mute Jammer, you're still going to get spotted. That's That means Grim bees should be sending a signal to Grim and getting jammed by this, but they're not. We'll test a few more like that. I think Lion and Dokkaebi will test. Okay, so how it worked before was that if you were inside the range of a mute jammer and Lion scanned, you were able to move around freely and not get detected. Is that the case? No, you do get detected. It doesn't say it. I feel like normally when you get hit by a Lion scan, you hear like the ding, ding, ding as you get spotted, but I didn't hear it that time. But I can confirm that on the handheld PC, like from Lion's perspective, he does get the pings for where mute is. Yeah, you get scanned 3 times. It says pinged by Lion's ED1. So according to the chat, and I'm pretty sure they're right, Lion was not able to scan when within the radius of a mute jammer. And he still can't. So you can get pinged while you're within the radius of a mute jammer, but he can't scan. That stays the same. Okay, I'm going to call with Dokkaebi. If I get called, mute is terrible. Oh, okay. I don't get called. So that stayed the same. Mute still counters Dokkaebi. Now the question is, can Dokkaebi call within the jammer radius? Before she couldn't. Let's see if she can now. I can. It says logic bomb is jammed. Cannot call. Okay, so Dokkaebi has stayed the same. Lion is different, Grim is different, but Dokkaebi is the same. Okay, so before, when Deimos would try to track someone who's within the range of a mute jammer, it would automatically fail. Does that happen again? Yes. Every time he tries to track, it is failing instantaneously. Now, if mute leaves the jammer, and he starts tracking, and I walk into the jammer, it fails. And it gives me my charge back again, which is how it works normally. So that hasn't changed at all. And then if I track mute, let it fully go off, and then walk in, it disables the Deimos track. Okay, so Deimos hasn't changed at all. Lion kind of changed, Dokkaebi didn't change. I still have to test Jackal, but Deimos is still exactly the same. On the original version of mute, if Jackal had his Inox on when he would walk into the range of a mute jammer, it would disable it. Now it doesn't. So his screen would go all fuzzy because it was disabling an electronic gadget. But I guess it doesn't have a signal, so that's why it's not getting blocked. But what if I scan someone? Oh. Should that not? That's inconsistent, right? I know technically it's not sending a signal to a receiver or anything. It's kind of like using GPS, whatever, to track where they are. But like, it shouldn't be able to pinpoint where someone is if I'm in a signal jammer, because it can't send signals to like a satellite to find where mute is. I think that's an inconsistency, right? Is everyone in agreement? Because this seems kind of dumb. It shouldn't work like that. The plus side is now you don't have to worry about a mute jammer making your screen fuzzy while you're trying to push in. You can still push in and still have full vision while in a mute jammer. And use your gadget. There's literally... Mute doesn't do anything to Jackal anymore. Because I'm pretty sure before, if you were within the range of a mute jammer with Jackal, you couldn't track footprints. Because like your gadget would be disabled. But now you can see with your gadget on and you can track footprints. So someone claims that mute can stop Nokk from using her gadget, which I don't think is true. And here's how we'll test it. So she has her gadget on now. I'm on the main lobby camera. Oh. Oh. Okay. What's really interesting, maybe I'll be the only one who finds this interesting. When Nokk uses her gadget, if you stand still, it has no, like it doesn't drain the usage of the gadget. It only drains it when you like sprint or shoot, something like that. Then it gets fuzzy and it uses a little bit of the bar. But the mute jammer works a little differently. So I'm going to very slowly creep forward and then it's going to deactivate it right there. I am not even close to within the radius of the mute jammer. So to show you what I mean, if I put the mute jammer here, look at how far Nokk is from the mute jammer. She's double the distance, but her gadget gets kind of disabled, so she can still be invisible, but it'll be fuzzy, which means that when I'm on cameras, I'll be able to see her. Or like I'll see the fuzzies. But what also happens is that when Nokk pops her ability, it drains the bar. So if I hop on camera, even though she's really far away, she moves forward. She doesn't have much left in the bar, but she moves forward. she gets fuzzy, and then now her gadget has been drained. So even though she doesn't really have, I guess it sends signals out, but even though she's not sprinting, shooting, or whatever, it drains the usage of the bar, and it drains it from really far away. Like, this is an insane counter. Not even within the radius of the jammer. This is the radius, right where I'm standing. She's twice as far away, and she gets her bar drained. Now, if she doesn't have her gadget on, right now she doesn't have it on, and it's not going down. Even though she's within the radius, it doesn't go down. It's only when she activates it. Or actually, oh, she can't even activate it while she's inside the radius. I'm pressing it, and it says it's jammed. I think that's new. I feel like that wasn't there before, right? But that is like such a weird, over-the-top counter to Nokk, who's arguably one of the worst operators in the game right now. She's okay in Pro League, but she's terrible everywhere else, and she just got absolutely destroyed by a mute jammer. So for the Nokk perspective, just so you guys see, I have the bar in the bottom right corner. It only goes down when I like sprint, when I shoot, but if I stand still or walk normally, or even just reload, it just stays. It's an infinite charge ability. And the mute jammer, which is sitting right here, has a radius that goes about to the edge of the sandbags. But look, when I get like to the hatch, I'm not even at the sandbags yet. My gadget is being countered by the mute jammer, which I'm well out of the range of. Depletes the entire charge, and now it's gone. Even though I'm standing still, I'm not doing anything that depletes my charge, Nokk now just gets hard countered by mute, which is crazy. I don't know why, but she does. So for all like 5 Nokk mains out in the world, be careful with mute. Okay, a really interesting one that a lot of people have been talking about is Flores. So Flores before, when he would deploy his drone and it would drive into the mute jammer, it would get jammed. Like, you know how a bulletproof camera jams things? It would just lock up and be EMP'd. Now, it works a little differently, where when it moves forward, it kicks Flores off of the drone, but the drone keeps moving, and he can't hop back on it. It just keeps moving and moving until it runs out of time, and then it locks and explodes. That's better for Flores, because before it would just get jammed and then be useless, but you did always have the option where you could, like, if you could see the mute jammer, you could shoot it, and then the drone would arm and explode where it was. Now it just drives past. So it's like buff / nerf at kind of a toss-up. And then I assume, yeah, he can... Wait, actually, wait. Oh, never mind. Oh. If he puts the drone down while he's in the jammer, it's just a jammed screen. And then he gets off. Was that how it worked before? And then you can pick it back up. I swear before it would just say jammed, and you can't do that. I can't remember how it works on the live build. I feel like I've done it on Coastline Window for Kitchen. I think when you would hop on the drone, it would immediately kick you off, and the drone would just be fuzzy. But what's interesting is it doesn't kick him off. He can stay on it as long as he wants, and then he just has a blurry or like a staticky screen. And then he can get off whenever he wants. Now what I want to know is what happens when you destroy the mute jammer here. Will it drive forward, or will it lock and explode? Oh. Stays there. Now what happens if I put down another drone? Huh. So he could just have 2 drones out, but one of them's kind of useless? Can I move it around or anything? No. But let me guess, you can still go pick it up, right? Yep. That is a really weird interaction. I'm going to put down one drone. It's going to get locked. And then I'm going to put down another drone. That one's also going to get locked. Okay. Now I destroy the mute jammer. And I try to use the gadget. Okay, I was wondering if I could hop back on the drone once I'm out, because Flores doesn't have any more drones, but it just says you're out of drones. So I would have to go pick one up and then re-put it down. Makes sense, but I thought you would be able to get access to it again. So once it's been jammed, you just lose full access. You can never get back into it. And it's not armed, so defenders can still destroy it. I feel like that's overall a nerf for Flores. I thought it was more of a buff, but I think it's more of a nerf. We have Sens here. On the live build, or like before this season, if Sens put down a roly-poly-oly, what's it called, projector, like the individual projector was within the range of a mute jammer, it would not deploy the wall. But now, it still does. All of these are within the range of the mute jammers and they still deploy. So normally, before this buff, let's say only the last one would work and all the rest would be disabled until the mute jammer was destroyed. So I guess they aren't sending a signal, or I guess the jammer's not jamming a signal because all it has to do is just deploy a light and there's no like receiver, it's just a sender. Let me see if I can toggle them. Yeah. What if I'm within the range of the mute jammer? Yeah, even when within the range of the mute jammer you have full control. Which, I think that's an inconsistency, right? Because technically, Sens has to send a signal to the roly-poly-oly to turn on and off the lights. But even though they're within the range of a mute jammer, they still have full control. I think that is an inconsistency that will probably get patched. That would be my guess. Okay, so we have Rauora. I'm going to put down a mute jammer right here. And with the new expanded radius, it is large enough to cover the top of the door, but it should not affect Rauora, because there's no signal. Yeah, it doesn't affect it at all. If I put it down after, I assume it has no effect as well. Yeah. Because it is mechanical. Oh. It destroyed my signal disruptor. With RAM, mute should block her ability to detonate the RAM because it's a signal. When she tries to... Oh, let me move in front of the camera. When she tries to send the signal, it's jammed. Oh, wait, what? Oh, so she can throw another one. Oh. So you throw the RAM, you try to detonate it, it's jammed, so then it just moves on to the next RAM boogie drone. Interesting. So now I can put down all three. This is kind of what I expected to happen, but I'm still a little bit surprised at how it worked. So now that the jammer's gone, you can see the lines of all the rams, and then I can set it off. Oh. Oh. Okay, so when I set it off, it only set off the most recent one, and now I can't set off this one. I will have to... Like if I try, I'm pressing the gadget button, it's not setting off. I have to pick it back up and put it down again. Interesting. I was hoping that we could have it set up where you could have all three RAM drones go off at the same time and just destroy the entire floor, but no. That is a wonky interaction. I don't think it's supposed to work like that. Okay, so we have a Kludge drone coming in. It's hacking the mute jammer. Now that it's swapped sides, if I try to hop on cams, I am jammed. If I hop off cams outside of it, it works. This is what I want to see. I'm going to go put a jammer above to show that cameras, if they're within the range of a Brava mute jammer, they will get disabled. Okay, now we've hacked it again. This hopefully should be right above the camera. Yes. Okay, so the camera will be completely disabled. Now, the mute jammers don't quite have the range to make it all the way up to the camera by default. They're just short, but if it's above a camera, it'll disable the camera. And I don't know how a lot of the mute jammer interactions will work with defender gadgets, but I can't imagine a lot of it would change. I need a third PC. I have a laptop, but I don't even have the game installed, but I need a third PC to test all of them. The only ones I'd want to test would be like if there's a Meister camera in the range of a mute jammer that gets Brava'd. I think on the main build, the Meister camera would open up and then be shootable, but on the new version, it shouldn't open up, it's just disabled. Again, there's not many signals on defense. It's all about signals. The mute jammer is now sending signals, or blocking signals, rather. So anything that's just a static, like a Capcan trap, is not going to get affected by a Brava mute jammer. It will still work because it doesn't have a signal. It is just a gadget that has like a laser. It's like a Claymore. Oh, actually, I should test C4. Yes, C4 gets jammed by a Brava thing. What if I put down another mute jammer. Because I think before, when you would Brava a mute jammer and then put down another mute jammer next to it, your mute jammer would get disabled by the Bravad, because the Bravad one existed first. But if I send in the drone, it gets disabled by my jammer. So both the jammers exist together. They don't disable one another. So Blitz should also have a change. The way it worked before is that since Blitz has an electronic gadget, when you were inside the range of a mute jammer, you couldn't flash people because it would get, you know, EMP'd. But now, since all you're doing is clicking a button that flashes on your shield, it should work. It does. You can fully flash people while inside the range of a mute jammer. Because there's no signal. You're just detonating the flash on your shield. You're not sending a signal from, like, a remote to the shield. It's on the shield. It goes through the wires that you can see down there. And it just flashes. So mute no longer counters Blitz. Which I don't think will affect many people. But that is kind of a buff for shields in a meta where people hate shields because they say they're too strong. Previously, when Ying was in the range of a mute jammer, it didn't do anything. Even though it was like an EMP gadget, it wouldn't disable my electronic screen that makes me immune to candelas. But actually, wait. Oh, does it already do that? So you can see every time I pull out the candela, you know, you get the electronic screen going. Now when I walk in the range of a mute jammer, it disables it. But that's not how it works in the live build. Because I actually tested this recently. I did a whole TikTok proving that it doesn't affect Ying. It's the Tubarao that affects Ying. But now I guess mute and Tubarao affect her, because if I throw this down, Ying can now get flashed because of mute. She can flash herself again. So if you're Tubarao or you're muted as Ying, do not use your candelas because it will just counter you. That is actually a massive nerf for Ying and a big buff for mute. That's probably one of the best things he's had that's changed. To be honest, doesn't make any sense because the visor doesn't have a signal. It is just a like protective screen that reduces the effectiveness of flashes. But for some reason, I guess it has a signal that gets interrupted. I don't understand how that does anything. But that is massive for mute and a huge nerf for Ying. I'm going to have to redo my TikTok. Because everyone was like, mute counters Ying, and I proved that he didn't, but now he does. Maybe the devs saw that TikTok and then put this in because of me. I'm sorry, guys. I know people will make the joke, Ubisoft has no idea who I am, but I shockingly do get messaged a lot that a lot of my videos where I complain about stuff get sent around inside Ubisoft, and they watch it. One thing I'll test, I'm going to just walk slightly out of the range, because you know how Nokk gets affected really far away? I wonder if Ying also gets affected really far away at all, even though it still works. Ooh, one thing I'll test here. Because this, I think, would be way more likely. If I throw Candela, it starts going off, and then I walk in, yeah. So if you walk into the jammer mid-flash, it'll still flash you. These mute changes seem rather inconsistent. I think everyone would agree with that. I think what's really weird is that before, I don't think there was ever something mute did that was really inconsistent. There were like a few things here and there, but it feels like almost everything we've gone over today is very inconsistent and doesn't like make logical sense for us. So he definitely has become more inconsistent, which I think this is just going to make it really, really hard for new players to learn mute. One thing I'm going to test is if I'm within the range of a mute jammer, can I still Finka boost? No. Adrenal Surge is jammed. And I assume because of how they've changed Finka, if I Adrenal Surge and then walk in, it does not affect me. I would also assume that if a teammate is within the range of a mute jammer and I Adrenal Surge, it won't go to the teammate because that's how it worked before. But I don't have a third PC to test that, so we're just going to have to assume that. I don't think there's anything else that we have left to test. I think everything that we have tested... Actually, I'll do like Iana, because people were mentioning it's changed, but I know it's not. It's still the same. Okay, so as we all know, when drones get in the range of a mute jammer, they get disabled. Iana clone is no exception. She also gets disabled in the range of a mute jammer. and then you get kicked off and it destroys the drone. It has always done that. That has not changed at all. Oh, but speaking of droning and intel, here's one thing I want to test. Before, with mute, because the range was so small, if you put a mute jammer on, like, say, the right side of the door here, before, you used to be able to get a drone, you would line it up, and then you could jump from, like, here, and you could jump past the mute jammer. I assume because of the increased radius, that is no longer possible. Nope. As soon as you try to jump through, you are, like, because of how large the radius is, you're not making it past that. Which is the whole point. Like, that's why mute got changed, is to counter drones more instead of countering gadgets. But it will make it very, very hard to drone if someone is a good mute player. This should not affect Glaz. But I assume being in the range of a signal jammer, yeah, it does not disable his thermal. I'm in the range. I can still see thermal. If I put down the smoke, I can still see thermal. Because this isn't a signal. It's a, like, mechanical device, so there's no reason for it to be blocked. Which makes sense. It still is the exact same as it was before. And I don't think mute ever countered Glaz. Actually, no. Or maybe he didn't. I know Two-Brow countered him. If you were inside a Two-Brow canister as Glaz, you wouldn't be able to see anyone thermal. Actually, no, mute was the same. Yeah, no, mute used to block Glaz. So this is actually a Glaz buff. Because Glaz is no longer affected by the mute jammer. Because if I went to do Glazric on a muted wall, I couldn't see people as well. You can still see them, but it was really weak. Now it doesn't affect it at all. Okay, chat. That is all of the mute interactions. I'm sure we could probably make more interactions possible if I had a third PC and had Brava hacking the mute jammer and then seeing how it interacts with defender gadgets, but I don't have that set up, and I honestly, those situations are so fringe, I don't think it matters, but maybe if people really want it, I'll do another one in the future, and I'll just test how defenders get affected by mute. But that is it for the interactions. Mute, I'd say overall, nerfed way more than he is buffed. I'm trying to think of all the interactions that changed, and I feel like there was only like 5 that were better, and everything else was just worse for mute. So mute is now just like a drone blocker, and that's it. Anything else, trash.